Imagine this. It's 1900 in foggy San Francisco. You're broke, homeless, and desperate for a place to crash. Would you ever consider bunking down in a cemetery vault surrounded by moldy coffins and the dead? Sounds like a horror movie, right? But this actually happened to a guy named Thomas James. Stick around because his story is weirder than fiction and it reveals a forgotten side of America's past. Welcome back to the channel, folks. Today we're diving into a wild tale from the pages of history, pulled straight from a 1900 newspaper article in the San Francisco Call. It's called Most Weird Bedroom in San Francisco, and it spotlights Thomas James, a 40-year-old drifter who turned a fancy family vault into his personal hideout. This isn't just a weird story, it's a snapshot of poverty, grit, and the quirky underbelly of turn-of-the-century America. Let's set the scene. San Francisco in 1900 was booming, but not for everyone. The city was packed with dreamers chasing gold rush leftovers, but jobs were scarce and the streets were tough. Enter Thomas James, a former dry goods clerk from Butte, Montana. About a year earlier, he hopped a train to the Bay Area hoping for better luck. Spoiler, it didn't pan out. His money ran dry, and with no steady work, he was reduced to begging for scraps by day. One fateful stroll through Calvary Cemetery, a massive Roman Catholic burial ground in the Lone Mountain neighborhood, changed everything. Established in 1860, Calvary was like a city of the dead, sprawling over nearly 50 acres with grand vaults for the wealthy. But by 1900, the city was growing fast, and officials were already plotting to boot the cemeteries out to make room for the living. Graves were neglected, locks were busted, and that's where James saw his opportunity. Spotting the Hensler family vault, one of the poshest in the aristocratic section, he noticed the iron door was only tied shut with rope. No big deal for a guy down on his luck. He slipped inside and thought, this'll do. For nearly 2 months, Thomas James lived among the dead. The vault was a chilly 10-foot square of gray stone with 4 moldy inscribed tablets on the walls sealing its remains from half a century ago. On the floor, 2 dusty coffins that had been pulled from their crypts, who knows for what reason. But James, he made it homey. He fashioned a bed from burlap sacks and old carpet, squeezed right between those coffins. For light, a candle stuck in a beer bottle. He even built a makeshift stove from a 5-gallon oil can with iron bars across the top, perfect for heating up water for coffee or warming up begged food like bread, cold meat, and pie. He'd store his eats in urns, play solitaire with a greasy deck of cards, and pin up decorations, a lithograph of a Philippine battle scene and a picture of President McKinley. By day, he'd sweep out the dust and leaves, beg downtown, then return at night to his Palazzo on Rosebud Avenue West, as he cheekily called it. What about the creeps factor? James wasn't fazed. In his own words from behind bars after his arrest, afraid? What of? Those dead people couldn't be any deader than they were, and they were so dead they couldn't budge. Dead people are all right. They're the only kind I've ever met that'll let you alone. He even quipped that spooks mind their own business. No landlords nagging for rent, no leaks to fix. This was luxury on a budget. James said, a man hasn't many chances in life to be comfortable, and he better take 'em while he can. So, how'd he get caught? It was the laundry. One sunny morning, he hung his clothes out to dry on the vault's exterior, right in the affluent part of the cemetery. A patrolling cop spotted the unusual sight amid the tombstones and peeked inside. There was James, napping in the vault. Busted for trespassing, the cemetery managers weren't having it. They wanted to preserve the peace and dignity of the dead. James got 30 days in jail, griping about that cheeky, interfering cop who won't be decent till he's dead, and dead a long time too. This story isn't just bizarre, it's a window into the era. Hobos back then crashed under steam pipes or in lumber piles, but James set a high water mark for trampdom by squatting with the elite deceased. It highlights how economic desperation pushed people to extremes and how San Francisco's rapid growth clashed with its past. Fun fact, by the 1930s, Calvary was fully evicted. About 40,000 bodies, including those from the Hensler Vault, were moved to Colma's Holy Cross Cemetery, some even to mass graves. Today, the site's gone, replaced by neighborhoods and parks. James himself? Pale, cadaverous, and unusually clean for a transient, he vanished from records after this. But his tale endures as a mix of humor, horror, and humanity. A reminder that history's full of folks just trying to get by, even if it means bunking with the beyond. And that's the incredible story of Thomas James living among the dead. If you enjoyed this dive into forgotten history, hit that like button, subscribe for more tales from the past, and drop a comment. Would you crash in a vault if times got tough? For the full article, including the original newspaper transcript and more deep dives into quirky historical gems, head over to my Substack at humblymybrain.substack.com. You'll find this piece and plenty more on subjects like this. Subscribe for free or pay to support the work. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.